Jonathan Davenport, Superman, saw his dirt track world championship hopes come to an end with about 20 laps to go at Eldora on Sunday evening. Here's what happened on the racetrack. Let's take a look. See here, he's going into turn 3. He's running real strong. He's jumping that really rough surface, and then he just really slows down, and Devin Rand goes past him. Hudson O'Neal goes past him, and he just drives it around and parks it, and he would be watching the rest of the race from the infield. His night would come to an end. In a post-race interview with Flow Racing, he informed us what exactly happened. Let's take a listen.
Jonathan Davenport falls short in the Big Four championship battle. Everything was going well for you for most of that race. It seemed like you were settled into a good spot. What happened to you, with about 20 to go?
Just mud clot, knocked the radiator out of it and run hot. So that knocked all the water out of it. So I was trying to be conservative, run my own race there. I let a lot of people by me, and then we got past back by a few, but just trying to run, where the holes wasn't, and it still bit me. But that's just the way it goes. I mean,
there were lots of holes on that track. The track was in extremely rough shape earlier in the night during one of the let's see here. It was I think it was during one of the heat races. You had Ross Robinson actually had a mud clot. Let's take a look at this here. He actually had a mud clot jump up and hit him in the head and knocked him unconscious, and he lost control of the car. Fortunately, nothing terrible happened. He was able to basically get it slowed down, and his foot didn't hit the accelerator or anything like that. He took it off, and the car just kind of parked, but he was knocked unconscious. We would later find out. But this is what happened with Ross Robinson earlier in the evening.
It was.
You can see here, he just kind of spins out, and we didn't really know what was going on, but they would later report in the evening that he was indeed knocked unconscious from a mud clot, and he was being treated by medical personnel at the track. So those mud clots were very dangerous. They were happening, not only damaging cars. We saw so many cars go out of the field in the A main event. I think there was only 6 cars left on the lead lap at the end of the race. So Davenport wasn't alone in being a victim of a mud clot. So not only were they destroying the cars, but we actually had one take out a fellow competitor in Ross Robinson earlier in the day, knocking him unconscious. So the track was very, very dangerous. And as far as what Davenport was saying is about how he was trying to take it easy, you could clearly see that if you're watching the race. He was just kind of cruising around the 5th spot the entire race. He was waiting. He was hoping to survive, I felt like. He was just like, I'm going to sit around in 5th, drive around the track, and hope that nothing happens, preserve my car, and then maybe when it's time to go, 10 laps to go, I'm going to hit it and I'm going to go. And that looked like what he was doing. You can see that he was doing, and he confirms that here in this interview. Let's listen again.
Had a lot of rain this weekend, so I don't know. We played the cards the best we could, and we had a legitimate shot. Without Hudson having his tire flat, he was still leading. Between us 4 when it happened. So just the way it is. It wasn't normal Eldora, so maybe they'll have this thing again, and we'll come back next year and finally get us a dirt track world championship.
This is why you did the series too this year, because you wanted this shot, and it's going through your mind probably that whole race. I mean, we're where we need to be. We got that 200,000. Were you satisfied with that? If you wouldn't have won, because you never really made a move for the win after, I guess, after you lost the lead.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to try hard until 10 to go, because I mean, and with it rough like that, you could bend a shock early, and then that's going to.
I guess not everyone realized he was saving his equipment, given that question. But I thought it was pretty obvious he was saving his equipment.
You later, or do what we did, knock the radiator out. There's so many things that can go wrong when the racetrack's as rough as it was and as fast as it is. So, like I said, I wouldn't even really try. I was just going to try to stay good track position, just go fast enough, and just try to be there at the end. But we just wasn't there at the end. So that's the only thing. That we still had a lot left in the tank for sure. But who'll ever know?
What's your thoughts on the whole Big Four format this year, now that it's actually happened and here you are at the end of the season?
It worked out great. I just wish, the weather hadn't played such havoc on us, and we could have really had Eldora like Eldora, and we could have raced. It'd have been 25 cars finish the race, people coming from the back, and sliders thrown without, about turning over and shit like that. So, cool concept. It just didn't work out. That Well, I guess it did work out. Hell, they passed each other, two or three times, with two or three to go. So that part was cool, but I just wish it would have been on a little bit better racetrack. But I know Rob and all the Eldora staff did everything they could possibly do to give us a good racetrack there, and he was contemplating, I know, back and forth on doing something to it before our feature because he didn't want it to rubber, obviously. But looking back, maybe shouldn't have touched it, but because they did get rougher and rougher. But who knows? You put all of those idiots out there, and we're going to go for the holes because that's where the traction is.
Yeah, I think he's kind of right there. I think the track was going to get rougher and rougher no matter what, because they were just going to. That's what they were going to go for. They were going to go for that traction. They're going to go for that speed. These guys know where it's at, and they're willing to risk a lot of that stuff. I mean, these guys were out there gunning it. A lot of them were gunning it for most of the race. I felt Davenport was one of the few guys kind of conserving his stuff. For most of the race, like you could visibly tell that he was conserving his stuff. He was letting people go by him that you wouldn't normally see go by him, especially from where he was at the race, and he was definitely trying to conserve his stuff. But it's interesting his comments, and I hope they were enlightening. And I'm glad to inform you guys that hey, he had a mud clot hit his radiator. That is what took him out, and that's what took out a lot of people, including physically taking out Ross Robinson earlier in the evening, knocking him unconscious. So let me know what you think about Davenport's comments here about what happened to his championship hopes on the track, and then what he thought about the actual championship format as it stands. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding that. A lot of people not happy that it did kind of have this winner take all format, which kind of robbed Ricky Thornton Jr. from an absolutely spectacular season that he had. In any other season, he would have been the champion. But in this winner take all format, he was not crowned that. So I know Thornton Jr.'s crew chief thought about maybe changing up the format a little bit, seeing if there might be a little bit tweaks or something like that. And I suggested in an earlier video that we maybe give the people that are at the top a little bit of a point advantage instead of having kind of a winner take all thing. So he gets a little bit of an advantage going into the race because he did indeed earn it with his exceptional efforts throughout the entire season. But let me know what you think in the comments below.